And check in with our friend Robbie Triano about the latest news when it comes to Pac-12 television deal and really now Big 12 expansion, because they're all kind of in one big conversation now. We'll see what Robbie has to say about this, what he has been hearing, and more coming up.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Big 12 podcast. It's the 13th of April, 2023. Thank you all for making Locked On Big 12 your first listen every single day. Robbie Triano is here. He is the host of Midwest Madness. He is also a producer at SiriusXM, the executive producer of Big 12 Today on SiriusXM from 2 to 5 Central. That's right? 2 to 5? Nailed it still? I should know that. I worked the show forever. 2 to 5 Central every single day, Monday through Friday. You guys can hear him. And so, Robbie, glad to have you on. I've been kind of doing a check-in with media folks. I talked with our Spencer McLaughlin, who's Locked On Pac-12. I talked with John Kurtz, who we're familiar with. You know, he's been doing a lot of realignment stuff. Very familiar with Kansas State. David Smoke, talked to him this week. And then looking to talk with Andrew Marchand next week at the New York Post. And so you're obviously a big stop on this because we're all kind of in the same media circle thing. Yes. You know, your thoughts on kind of the latest rumblings at Colorado. We had the Colorado athletic director responding to a random account. Well, people don't think he's random, but MHVER3 guy who was like, a vote could come Monday. And it was like, no, it's not. Where are we? What the hell are we doing?
Yeah, there's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of things going around. But the thing that I will be confident in saying is I'm pretty sure you have said, and your listeners can agree with me, the Pac-12 just has to be in trouble, right? People say, oh, it's propaganda coming out of the Big 12. Well, if every major media outlet has said, okay, these things are happening, and then even the CW is being mentioned at all, like, these things just don't come out of midair, especially when you have people who make their bread reporting in college sports, and even one ding can completely destroy their whole reputation. You have all of these people saying there is something going on in the Pac-12, and I don't think it's very good. And that's where the Big 12, like, as a fan, we would love to take the Colorados and everybody there and just make the Pac-12 absorb the good of that. Oregon State, you can go away. But as of right now, like, I have to feel optimistic as a Big 12 fan because it just doesn't look like the Pac-12 can patch it together. Now, for the Pac-12 schools, if it's like a $5 million difference per year, is that enough to destroy history, geography, everything to go join the Big 12? Maybe not. But this is where this deal, I feel like, is just so damn important because of exposure, money, and where the Big 12 is currently going in terms of eyeballs and recognition. Like, the Big 12 has made itself very, very attractive over this past year because of Brett Yormark. So right now, I'm kind of buying that there is something fishy going on with the Pac-12.
Yeah, it goes back to our buddy Andrew Marchand talked to you about it, talked to me about it. And when Kliavkoff called him a disruptor, and he's like, look, man, I just report, I don't care about disrupting what the Pac-12 has going on. And it kind of gets this conversation I talked about yesterday. I want to get your thoughts on it. There are some folks out there that are like actively rooting for the destruction of the Pac-12. And I understand why some of them feel that way. I don't, because, this is where I think about it. At the end of the day, like, we know people who are K-State fans and Iowa State fans and Oklahoma State fans. And there are folks at Wazoo and Oregon State and Arizona and all those places who are like the same way. And they just want to see their team have a chance to compete at the highest level. And they're not calling us a truck stop conference. They're not calling this league, leftovers. They're not talking about, should we shop there next? They're not doing any of that stuff. They just want to see that. And so, I think about them a lot of times. So I'm not, we laugh at the CW stuff, right? I think it's like, we can laugh at that. We can laugh at the Ion TV thing because it's like, okay, this is just, we're in bizarro world. But at the end of the day, like, there are still people who, I think we should sympathize with some of the fans out there. And that's why I'm not actually like, let's crush these guys. I want to see them suffer and wither away. Like, yes, there are a lot of business advancements that would be good for the Big 12 in the grand scheme of things if the Pac-12 were to go away. But there's a part of me, it's like they have fans there. And also I don't want to see old college football go away. I don't want to see us just go to super leagues, because if we do that, it could in some ways actually hurt the Big 12 in the long run.
Yeah, and I think the reason we all love college sports in general is, one, our affiliation with the school we root for, and because of that, you hate your rival. Like, if Michigan and Michigan State were not to play, I really don't have an incentive of being a fan. And when I look at what realignment has done to that, let's stick in the Big 12. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. Bedlam is gone. That sucks. Like, Oklahoma's going to be fine because they have Texas, who they still call their biggest rival, and they have these other schools. But for Oklahoma State, like, that sucks that those fans can't fight and beat up on Oklahoma fans and, like, have that, like, rivalry, like,
Right.
in state. Like, that sucks. And for the Pac-12, like, is it good for the health of college sports to have that geography, regionality, like, go away and have some of these rivalries go away like that? Like, absolutely not. Like, I want the Pac-12 to be alive and well. But what I do want is the programs that we love in the Pac-12 to continue to do the things that they have done historically. Like, I want Colorado to succeed. I want Arizona State to have success where they can be people we talk about besides the top 10, 25 programs in all of college sports. And the thing is, if the Pac-12 doesn't offer them a deal and they take that, and you see their sports top start falling off, you see recruits going to other schools that they usually wouldn't because they have more resources. You see that they just can't fund good coaching anymore. I don't want those programs to go away because of bad leadership of a conference. So that's where I don't root for the Pac-12 to fail, but I root for something good to happen. I hope that if the Pac-12 deal doesn't happen, they come to the Big 12 because, one, we have the funding to, keep these schools alive and well, and also making sure we have the accessibility with eyeballs. So that's where, like, it's not good for college sports, but if it keeps them alive, I want them to come to the Big 12, very much so.
It's kind of where we're headed. Quick word from our friends at Built Bar. Today's show is brought to you all by the Built Bar. They are healthy. They are good for you. They are amazing. They taste great. Covered in 100% real chocolate. They only have 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. You guys can get them at Walmart 4-pack. Sam's Club 13. That's the way that I would go because I like to buy in bulk. So you guys, once again, can head to Walmart. You guys can head to Sam's Club. Sam's Club has the variety packs, so you guys can go and check them out. Also at built.com, you guys can find them as well. Built Bar, delicious, nutritious, fantastic. All right, so Robbie, the latest kind of news on this is around Colorado. And we're not saying they're going to have a vote immediately. It's not what we're saying, but I think a lot of folks have thought, okay, if one school goes, that maybe feels like a second school will go, and if 2 go, then 4 might go, and whatever else you want to do. But it was always been the conventional wisdom that Arizona State and Arizona would go together. And it's kind of odd because it shifted very much. The 2 schools that have the most heat behind them are Arizona, because Arizona's been pretty public. I feel like they are, look, we want to be in the Pac-12, but if Pac-12 doesn't work, we'll go to the Big 12. And I think that's how a lot of the schools feel. But Arizona has been most vocal about it. So I think we feel like they are the most vocal about it. They are the most ready for it. And then for Colorado, they've been pretty quiet. I know that they have a public vote to kind of see these things through. So this stuff has to, kind of be on the books. It's not going to be like a sneak attack vote. We're like, whoa, like all this, they have to do it in public, which once again, that's a difficult choice to make, tough to do, but they've been to the Big 12 before. They are in a spot, especially I think right now with where their football program is, that the visibility is very important for them because they're not just competing for recruits. They need to keep the coach who's kind of going to, at least, look, they've got so much talent in that team that it's going to be hard to see them in 2 or 3 years not go like 7-5 at least, 8-4. Not saying they're going to win in a conference, but those 2 schools are kind of the hot ones right now. And I feel like the Big 12 makes a lot of sense to both of them for different reasons. And also, they have an appetite for it, it seems.
Yeah, and starting with Colorado, Andy Staples and I had this conversation in a commercial break. Like, what is Colorado if Deion Sanders was not there? Is that still worth that move? Because of right now, it's like you get him because one, I think there's not a more interesting story in college football right now in spring football besides what's happening at Colorado. Maybe the Texas quarterback situation, but I think it's just going to be Quinn Ewers. But that is by far the most attractive thing, and everybody is going to want to watch what is happening with Colorado. But what happens if Deion Sanders isn't there? Let's say, hypothetically, he takes over for Nick Saban if he does a good job at Alabama. That's a deep take I have down the road. Is that still worthy of a brand for the Big 12? Absolutely. I think you can control that entire state. There's Colorado State, but there's not necessarily they're not the same as like Michigan State
Right.
or that type of thing. You can own that area. And the thing that intrigues me is because we talk about Colorado and Arizona and those schools, and Brett Yormark says he wants to get into a fourth time zone. Okay, we're in the Eastern, we're in Central. BYU is currently in the Mountain time zone, but neither Arizona, Arizona State, or Colorado get you in that fourth time zone. So those are good brands to add, but what is that fourth time zone that he's looking for? Like, what is that school? And that's where I want to add those schools if they are available, but if Brett Yormark wants to have that fourth time zone, what school are we discussing there?
Right. It's interesting. I actually thought about this because Washington State and Oregon State have been so desperate to stay in the Big 12. I mean, a lot of the, you don't have to read too far into a lot of the anonymous presidents and whatnot. I mean, Oregon State and Washington State, have been the two kind of slept on and less talked about, teams in all of this, or schools, I should say, in all of this, because, that's not like there's a super hard desire out there. And also the problem for them too, Robbie, is some of their biggest games are against their rivals, right? Oregon State, is a game that, if you care about one game nationally on their schedule, that is one of them. The Apple Cup between Washington and Washington State. Hey, if you're going to care about one of the games of their schedule, that one's definitely one of the ones you circle. They might lose those games if those two schools decide to go elsewhere. And maybe that is where we go. But the problem is, by all indications, it seems that television money is not there for those schools necessarily. So while they might satisfy some of those needs, to be in that fourth time zone, you have to worry about the money side of it too. And that goes for any school that is, group of five, right? I mean, Fresno State, San Diego State's not in the conference yet. Obviously they're highly coveted at this point in time. Washington State, Oregon State, there's no guarantee that they were going to get. Now, the one difference is actually with Oregon State, Washington State, ESPN's part of the contract would be guaranteed, right? We do that for sure. We just don't know what Fox is bringing to the table. Although Fox, it's only $10 million. So I feel like there's a number that works there, but maybe Fox only wants to pay, they pay $8 million per team for Arizona, Colorado, but maybe only like $5 million per team for a Washington State, Oregon State. So those are two ones I really feel like we haven't talked about a whole lot, but it's got to make sense for the TV partners who ultimately drive all of this.
Yeah. And the thing about the Big 12 that I've noticed over the past year, really, since Brett Yormark has taken over, is that this conversation that we are having right now about the potential of the Big 12 seems kind of limitless because right now we're really this, like Brett Yormark said, like a startup, a 25-year-old startup. And it feels like when you can say the Big 12 can get Colorado, that seems feasible because we are kind of this new thing because OU and Texas were the identity of the Big 12, mostly Oklahoma. Really what you want to say, if you want to disagree or not, they were the identity of the Big 12 to the rest of the country. And now I think the topic of what the Big 12 is doing, and clearly this type of topic does numbers. You've seen it on your YouTube channel. You've seen it everywhere else. Like realignment gets people juiced. And it's so interesting that the Big 12 is really like people are saying, oh, they could go get UConn for basketball. Oh, they can go get Gonzaga. Oh, they can get these four schools. Oh, it feels like everybody's like the Big 12 can do that. And that is something like I've been amazed to like hear because 2-3 years ago, it was like this conference sucks. It's just Oklahoma. And like when they left, it's like this conference is dead. And now the fact that everyone is like, the possibilities are endless. Like,
It's
how
the
did
man up
this
top.
happen?
It's
What
the
did
man up
Brett
top,
Yormark
isn't
do?
it?
What happened? It's crazy.
Yeah, you feel like it has to be top. I feel like it has to be Brett Yormark. And like, there is a lot of people. I hate it whenever commissioners come on shows and they're like, you are just the best. You are doing, and I think like Greg Sankey deserves some credit, but like you are basically you're selling, food to starving people with SEC football. I mean, you or I could be the commissioner and make a ton of money. Once again, not saying Greg Sankey does a bad job.
This
But
is the easiest.
yeah, it is the easiest. And also Kevin Warren's job, he was very, very smart with the way that the new television deal works for them, right? He used NFL brain, says, well, the NFL's got games on Amazon, CBS, Fox, ABC. What if we do the same concept and we do, we're with Fox, we're with CBS, we're with NBC. Really smart. But it's not like they're playing 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional chess. The move to get Oklahoma and Texas, very, very smart move. Once again, though, I feel like that was more perpetrated by the television networks than anything. So, and they're the ones running the show. Don't get this thing twisted. So, yeah, we are sometimes too effusive with praise for the commissioners. The thing I like about Brett Yormark the most is he will throw everything at the, not David Smoke disagrees with this, but he throws a lot at the wall and he sees kind of what sticks with the presidents, right? They're not just doing everything in the world out there. They're doing a lot of stuff strategically, but I bet he's thrown out everything in the world to the presidents. And I like that. It doesn't all have to happen, but the one thing you have to do, especially when you're the Big 12 and you are not the last dog at the bowl right now, but you're not one of the, you're not one of the Great Danes. You're getting boxed out a little bit. You're a bit of a smaller dog, mid-sized sedan, if you will, of a dog. You got to find where you fit in, right? And they are doing that, and they are finding different ways to do that. And I want to see sponsors on jerseys. I know people will be like, oh, it's going to ruin it. Well, does it make you more money? Can you build the putt-putt course in the recruiting facility that Clemson has? Yes. And if that pays for that, that's good news. And so I want to see sponsorships everywhere. I want to see them sell that data they're collecting now to gambling companies. That's what they hired him for. They didn't hire him because this guy knows Texas. No, the guy knows business, and he's got connections with Endeavor, and he's got connections with the TV companies. That's what helped him get the deal. And he's thinking forward. And I'm not sure his hit rate's going to be 100%. Nobody's is, but you like the idea is pushing forward. Do they add Gonzaga? No, but does it put pressure on the Pac-12? And is it an actual thought that maybe we should all have? Yes. That's where he's winning, is just the amount of stuff that they're throwing out there. And I think the fact that you and I have heard this from the presidents and from ADs, they're like, well, we don't love every idea he has, but we like the fact that he's throwing them out there.
Yeah. And something that he did that really allowed him to do all of the creative things, like either with basketball, which I love as a college basketball person, how much he's like capitalizing on the Big 12 being really good and making sure it's better. But he got the biggest win he needed very early. He got the media deal done very early. And once he did that, the entire presidents, ADs were like, okay, how about you just cook? You do your thing, and we're going to support you no matter what you do because we trust you now. So now you're seeing things that I don't think any other conference has tried or done, and be a little crazy, a little zany, try out things because now he has this freedom because he like got people to buy into him. Let's say he did not get the TV done down, and we're currently the Pac-12 trying to find that TV deal, and we're the ones talking to CW. We're not having these things at Rucker Park or these things with the NFL Network for Pro Day. Like, people are going to be like, can you like focus on these other things first? So that's where I've been really happy with Yormark. And I was thinking about this because the Big Ten found their new commissioner. And like when I was reading up on the comments of it, people were like, I'm really happy Brett Yormark didn't leave the Big 12. And I was like, what? Like, Brett Yormark would have left? He would have left the Big 12? Like, and then I thought, like, did he do enough to become the Big Ten commissioner? And I think based right now, like, this conference was going to be dead. And as of right now, we couldn't feel more positive about it. Like, yeah, it honestly could make sense based on this short time, less than a year. Brett Yormark kind of deserved, or even had like deserved his name to be in the consideration for the Big Ten commissioner. And that's crazy to think about.
It is crazy. I mean, I thought the same thing too. It's like, if you're looking for a commissioner, why not get this guy? I mean, he's been, it's like, imagine what he did with the Big 12, what he could do with the Big 10. I mean, he's selling Ohio State and Michigan and Michigan State and Penn State and all those brands, Iowa, Wisconsin. He would do, the possibilities be endless. And that is the difference. That is the difference right now, is that this is somebody that people know and they seem to believe in, especially in like the spaces that we talk about, with entertainment and whatnot. And it kind of goes back to the original question we talked about, Robbie, of like, yeah, we pine for college football to be the way it was before, but we have to lean into what it is now. And like, it sucks. Yeah. Big Ten conference games are going to look like bowl games, right? It's going to be weird to see UCLA play Rutgers. That could be like the Independence Bowl or whatever, not obviously the matchup there, but like, that's what we see in bowl games. But that's a problem. That's where college sports is heading. And so, I think it's good that we don't have somebody who's clinging to the past, I guess I think is a good way to say it.
Yeah, and even this year in the Big 12, I'm like, I have no idea what to expect, because I'm doing the research on the 4 new schools. Spring football's here, trying to watch tape, trying to learn about it. I have no idea what to expect for those, and I think that's really interesting. But like, this year, I think is going to be really weird seeing UCF taking on Oklahoma, or any of these like Houston, West Virginia. It's just going to be like, I'm not used to this. I don't know how it's going to work, because you think of UCF, they're just out of the way. Like we think of what's happening in UCLA, USC, and the Big Ten. Like, they're just out of the way, but I don't know what to expect, and I hope it's good. I actually have a hot take that I don't think Big 12 football is going to be very good this year, just because I think the Big 12 lost so much talent this year. Like so much talent to the NFL draft, and that's where I'm not very high in the Big 12 this year. I don't think we're going to have a TCU-like team last year. I don't think we're going to have a college football playoff team unless it is Texas, and that just sucks for the conference if, their last year, the top 2 teams in the league are Oklahoma and Texas. I don't think Oklahoma's going to be number 2, but yeah, I don't think this is going to be a very good year for the Big 12 football-wise, but I am very intrigued.
Yeah, it's such a fun, that's going to be the next thing that we'd all turn our attention to, right? Is football next year. And, Oklahoma and Texas going back to the Big 12 championship game would actually be something that it would follow the trend, right? Because we've had 6 different teams in the championship game the last 3 seasons. So it would be following the trend of a conference of these teams kind of building up to these big seasons. The only problem would be the way it would be sold is that, look at this weak ass Big 12. Oklahoma and Texas, I should be very glad they're leaving. When in reality, like, that's not really been the situation the last few years, but I am concerned it could be construed that way, when in reality, like, Texas would be the 7th team in the last 4 years to make the Big 12 title game. And Oklahoma would be the first team to repeat team in the last 4 seasons. And I think, we're all hoping the realignment stuff kind of drags a little bit longer. I don't want to just be snap and done, because then we're like, all right, how it is to fill big slots, 5 days a week when it's nothing to talk about. But everybody always says, oh, this conference could be so interesting. What other conference has ever had a situation where they have 8 remaining teams, 4 new teams? They might be adding more teams, and also 2 teams are leaving. It's all happening in one season, and they're going to play each other. And it's like
it's literally like a reality TV show this year. And it's so interesting.
And I think in some ways, the 2 coaches of the schools leaving have to prove that they can win at the Big 12 level, because they're going to the SEC level, right? And then there's the program building that the 4 incoming schools are going to, let's see how big the learning curve is, because they have to prepare for that. And then how does the remaining teams handle the incomers, plus the people who are left over? It's going to be an interesting cocktail, I think.
Yeah. I am living for the drama of it, but when you look at the teams just switching into football mode, like Texas offense, going to be incredible. I actually feel the most confident. I said that last offseason. I legitimately feel the most confident this offseason with Texas. And then, like, who else is there? Oklahoma, I don't know who Dylan Gabriel is going to throw a football to, and I don't trust that defense at all. The teams that I am confident saying I think are going to be good in this conference, Kansas State, to me, I think is they're going to have a little bit of a drop-off, but I don't think by much. They return a lot of their offensive line, and a very good quarterback in Will Howard. I can confidently say that based on what we saw last year. You lose Deuce Vaughn. Okay, you have other running backs on this roster as well as DJ Giddens, and they have the guy from Florida State. You have this wide receiver core. You lose Malik Knoll, but then you get this guy from Iowa. You get Phillip Brooks. You lose Felix and Udike Uzama. You have Khalid Duke. They have a lot of good returning pieces back, and I'm really high in Kansas State this year. And the rest of the conference, I don't know. Like, could
Right.
Baylor be good? Blake Shapen, I don't trust him. And then also they are losing so much of their offensive line. Iowa State sucked last year. I don't know what to think about the team at
Offensively
all.
sucked, yeah.
TCU, national title team, they are returning about 30% of their starting production, or any production, really. Chandler Morris is going to be awesome, but I don't know what to think. And then the rest of the teams, I have no goddamn idea. So this year in Big 12 football is very intriguing because of all the outside things. But, like, I just need to watch a game soon. I need to watch a game to just be like, what is this league right now? Because I couldn't tell you who the best running back is. I don't know who the best skill player is unless it's someone on Texas. I don't know who the best defensive player is. I don't really know who's very good right now in the Big 12, and that's kind of scary.
Yeah, we know who's got talent and who's got some returning players. It's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be exciting. I'm fired up for it. Robbie, where can the folks find you and your work and all of its variety?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at the Triano Kid. I took a Twitter hiatus. I think it was much necessary after the basketball season, but now I'm back. Big 12 Radio, SiriusXM channel 375, and Big 12 Today from 2 to 5 Central. We miss Josh Neighbors very much, but anytime I get to talk to him, it's like the joy of my day. So thank you for letting me do this, Josh.
Thank you for coming on. I always appreciate it. You guys can find us on Twitter at LO Big 12. You guys can find me at Josh Neighbors _. Find the podcast wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. All right, Robbie, till next time. Appreciate you, man.
See you, dude.